Do you like knowing that your money is insured at the bank? Well, Donald Trump's team is suggesting another place where they could do some cuts. They're looking at cutting the FDIC, either cutting it or reorganizing it into the Department of the Treasury. Now, what is the FDIC? FDIC is the Federal Deposit Insurance Company, which insures your bank account up to $250,000 should your bank fail, to make sure you have money. It's trying to prevent what they call a run on the bank, which is when it looks like banks are failing, that they the bank has money. They go in and they step in. They try to keep the bank from failing, that they organize sales if they need to have somebody else come in and buy that bank. And they make sure you have access to your money. You know, there may be a day and a half, 2 days, something like that, where you don't have access to it, but your money is still safe. And at the end of the, whatever time they need to make sure your bank is okay, you will get your money. The FDIC came about in 1933 as a result of the Great Depression. Now, what was going on then was people were borrowing money to go play it in the stock market, because the stock market was kind of new and it had never dropped. It just kept going up. It looked like easy, free money. So everybody wanted in, including banks. And banks were taking the money that people had deposited into them, and they were playing it on the stock market. And then the crash came. So because they were loaning people money to play in the stock market, and they themselves were playing in the stock market, when the crash came and everyone started to panic, they went to their bank going, well, you have my money, you have all my savings, I want my money back, so I have it. And they went, we have no money. And banks started failing one after the other. And that's part of why the FDIC came about in during the Great Depression, as a response to it, as part of FDR's New Deal. Now, they're looking at ways to reorganize it, maybe get rid of it, and this is just dumb. It would take an act of Congress, and I don't know if there is support for it in Congress. There's definitely not support for it within the banking industry as a whole, as some people in the banking industry are even pushing for more insurance. In my lifetime, I remember it has gone from $100,000 per account up to $250,000 per account that it is insured, that the government says you will always have if a bank fails. Now, we had a couple failures last year where government stepped in, made sure that those banks were solvent, and made sure everybody had access to all of their money at the end of the day. They made sure nothing bad happened to their accounts or anything like that, well in excess of the $250,000. And there's calls for them to increase that $250,000. So we'll see. I think that's the better course of action here. And even after a couple banks failed, there was a lot of people that switched over to larger banks because they assumed that those banks were going to be too big for the government to let them fail. But if Trump's team gets their way and gets rid of the FDIC, then it's anybody's guess, and that could really be a destabilizing factor with the economy. So hopefully it doesn't happen. But it just shows how incompetent the incoming administration is going to be, that they want to do away with something as necessary as the FDIC, because it just keeps people's money safe and makes sure that banks don't go belly up, and that we don't lead to another major depression like we had in 1929.